Hello, Duranis here, and welcome to episode 5 of Kerbal Space Program. Today we're going to make things explode for science, yay! So hopefully with this craft we're going to head to Juna, we're going to land some seismic survey probes on there, then we're going to smash things into it at exceptionally high speeds and get lots of science. First thing we need to do though is actually get out the atmosphere, so we have a whole bunch of the big old solid rocket boosters here. This is in no way an optimized build. Just basically slapped a whole bunch of stuff on here to try and get it up through the atmosphere. No fancy fairings on this one either. I need to try and keep it as light as possible because we've got a whole ton of fuel that we're trying to get up. We don't have the most efficient engines yet for sort of interplanetary travel, so we need quite a bit of fuel to get where we want to go and do what we want to do. We've got computer controls on. Let's throttle up so that's ready when we switch to the liquid engines, and let's fire the first set of boosters. So have we lost any? Nope, we still seem to be in one piece. No, we're not. We've lost something. Okay, what's happened here? Can't see any missing. Still seem to be firing off into one direction though. So let's just tilt on back. We seem to be able to control it. I can't see why it's flying off in that direction. Yeah, all the rockets are there, but that's fine. We're going straight up again now anyway, so that's good. That's a scary moment on launch. So yeah, if I was going to optimise this build, I would have separated these rockets, these solid rocket boosters out into more stages, or thrust limited them a bit. We've got way too much thrust to weight ratio for this stage, and not enough thrust to weight ratio later on, but we should have enough to actually get us into orbit. It's just going to be a little bit slow. So once I get past these first stages, I'll probably just fast forward, because you're not going to want to sit and watch all of this, because our thrust to weight ratio is so low. It's going to be a pretty slow ascent. I just want to show these first couple of stages ditching, because there's a high possibility that they might explode as we do so. So what we have on the top part here is the actual lander probe. So these bits are going to be the ones that we land on Juna. These bits around the sides are going to be the ones that we smash into Juna. The reason we're doing this in normal vanilla KSP, the seismic survey units, I can't remember the exact word, seismometers. Basically, you land them on a planet, you right click, you get the science. Which is pretty cool, but it's with the Interstellar mod, it basically changes how they work, and you have to land it on a planet, and then you click it and you set it to monitor seismic activity, and then you basically have to smash things into the planet to create seismic activity, and then once you do that, it logs it, you get the science, and then you can transmit it back. So it makes it, you get more science from it, I think, overall, but it makes it more interesting to set up and a bit more difficult, especially on the further away planets when you're trying to set it up. So not only have you got to have the probe with the seismic survey unit on, you've also got to have things to smash into the planet as well. So it's a pretty nice addition. I actually really like these kind of missions. We do also have the SCANsat equipment set up on this stage here. So this stage, it should hopefully stay in orbit. We can set that up to map Juna for future missions, and hopefully we should get up into orbit and still have this central stack of the bottom stage and left to push us out to Juna, and then we should have more or less the whole upper stage here to adjust to encounter and actually get us into orbit. I said we've not got the most efficient engines in the world, so it's going to be fairly close on the fuel depending on what kind of orbit we can get. We're also quite a long way away from our Juna window as well, so it's not going to be the most optimal route to get to Juna. So coming up to the about quarter of the way left on the solid rocket boosters here. Once these ones are ditched, I'm going to fast forward the rest of this ascent, and I'll see you back in orbit. But I'm just going to keep you on camera for the moment, just while we ditch these, just in case anything goes severely wrong. We are going very, very slow, and we're going to go even slower on the next stages. You don't always have to have massive thrust to weight ratios, as long as your average is over 1. So we're under 1 at the moment, but once we burn through the fuel, you can see it starts to go up. That will keep us going upwards, even though it's not going to be on a massive speed. You can see our velocity here is dropping quite quick. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, and I will catch you again when we're in orbit. So we made it up into orbit. We've still got almost all this lower tank left with fuel, which is good. If I'd thought about it, I could maybe put a couple of these tanks up onto this upper section and had the more efficient engine using that fuel, but it doesn't really matter. It'll just make these first burns a little bit quicker, and hopefully we've still got enough. So our first manoeuvre is set up here. We've got closest approach of 14 million kilometres, closer to 15 million kilometres. So when we get into this first orbit here, we're then going to set up another manoeuvre just to get this a little bit closer, and we'll probably then have to get into that orbit and set up a third manoeuvre just to get our final encounter set up. We're not in an ideal position to be landing on Juno. We're here and Juno's here, so I think ideally want Juno to be about there when we actually try to get to it, but rather than sort of time accelerating around, I'm just going to just sort of force it and make it go where I want it to go. So let's bring back our GUI and get ready to do this burn. So I'm going to I'm going to speak English. Hopefully, I'm going to perform this burn, and then once we're in that orbit and I've set up my next manoeuvre, I'll come back to you and explain what's going on. So we're back again. We've got a Juno encounter set up with a periapsis of somewhere between 50 and 90 kilometers. It's sort of bouncing around quite a bit. I'm not going to try and adjust it anymore from here. What I'm going to do now is just F5 quickly, and I'm going to zip on into the sphere of influence of Juno. What I need to try and do is also get into a polar orbit once we get there. So we'll see sort of how we land when we get there. It's kind of hard to tell from this stage, so we're just going to work that out once we're in the Juno sphere of influence. So zip on around. What's it saying when we're 9 kilometers? So that's a little bit lower than what we want, but we should have enough time once we get there to just do the final bit of fine tuning. It's kind of hard when you've not got RCS thrusters or anything to do sort of like some of the burns I need to do less than a meter per second, and you can't really do that without RCS thrusters. So trying to get a really accurate periapsis on this from way out there is pretty much impossible with the ship I've got at the moment. And can we see what side we're coming in on? I think we're coming in on the right side, and I think that looks like we're... hard to tell. Where are we? Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's polar orbit we're coming in on or not. It looks kind of like it's not, but it's fairly hard to see from here, so let's just skip on a little bit further, and yeah, so we're not in a polar orbit. Let's see what we can do. It's not far off, so we're gonna do one last little bit of adjustment here, and we want to tip it around a little bit into a polar orbit and just bring the periapsis out just a little bit more, and not quite that much. I think we're going to aim for about 15k. Should get us down to not the lowest part of the atmosphere, but just the next one up from that. And 20, and let's just see if we can get it on a slightly more polar orbit. Is that going to do it? No, that's actually going the wrong way, I think. That's better. So, no, we're going the right way. We want to go over that away. And it looks like we're going to encounter Ike on the way. That's going to mess us up a little bit, but okay. And come back, Juno. Where are you? Hello. Another thing I wish you had is fine controls over the zoom, so that you could. So I can either zoom into there, or I can zoom into there. There's no in between. So can't see what's going on. Periapsis 96. Okay, so we're going to hit this Ike encounter. We'll get past that, and then we'll readjust again once we're past Ike. So let's get ready to do this burn again. It's only a very small burn, 33 meters per second. So trying to do it accurately with this ship's going to be a little bit hard. But it's not as hard as trying to do the 0.5 meter per second burn that I was doing on the way in. So it's add an alarm, and got a 12-second burn, so let's just set that out to 6 seconds. And let's do another F5 here, just in case. And let's zip on to that maneuver node. So the Ike encounter might work in our favour. I'm not sure if that's going to slow us down a little bit. I think it probably is, so that should help. Let's close that, do this burn. Let's just speed it up a little bit. And I've got to make sure that I don't actually crash into Ike. It looks like we're going to be quite a way away from it, so that's okay. And let's just speed up a little bit more. And good enough. Okay, so we're going to hit Ike, well, hopefully not hit Ike, but hit Ike's sphere of influence on the way in. And then we've got a 96k periapsis there. I'll adjust this periapsis back down into the atmosphere once we get past Ike. But there's not much point in trying to do it now. Haven't got enough room to sort of get around Ike at this stage, and it's just going to waste fuel if I try and do that. So we'll keep the Ike encounter in there. Let's just set this for the sphere of influence change. And let's do that to 10 seconds again. And let's have a look as we zoom in. So where are we? So there's Juno and there's Ike there. Let's get rid of that. And just zip on in. So we're going to come real close to Ike here as we approach Juno. And camera controls, thank you. So Ike's just coming in there on the left. And Ike's actually quite a nice place to land. It's quite rocky but low gravity, and it's a pretty easy place to get to. And we should be coming up to the sphere of influence change any second now, yeah. So probably another thing I should have chucked on here was a magnetometer, so we could do a little bit more science as we're going around, but I sort of plan on coming back and doing all of them kind of missions later on, where we can actually return the whole craft. And this is sort of a test run as well, just to see sort of how far we can push it with what the technology that we've got at the moment. And I'm actually quite happy with the way it's turning out. It's not doing too badly. We've got quite a bit more fuel than what I was expecting to have at this stage. So let's just set this up to switch back to the Juno sphere of influence. Yep. And just quick save again, just in case. And fast forward again. And is it dropping us? Yeah, excellent. Delete. Go away, go away. That's some oddness there, but okay. And a little bit faster. Okay, and we switched back. So what's our periapsis now? Still 96, and we're 19 minutes away from that, so we've got plenty of time to just adjust this a little tad. And if we just retro burn, that's not going to be the most efficient way of doing it, but we need to start slowing down anyway, so it's okay, let's cancel that, and we're just gonna change the radial just to bring us down. It's going to cost a lot less fuel. We are going to need to burn retrograde anyway, but I'm not sure it's overly efficient to do it sort of way out here. So 24, 17, and I haven't checked what the highest elevation is on Juno, so I don't want to go too low. So there might be some high mountains on there, and the last thing I want to do is clip the top of a mountain. So yeah, that looks fairly good. It's a pretty good inclination. We don't have to be 100% with this at the moment. 19, 17. I'd like to get it sort of bang on 15 if I can. Still 17. Are you moving? Let's use this to do it. 16. Still 16. Still 16. Yep, too far. Okay, what's going on with that? And our manoeuvre node just went nuts, so probably because we skipped past it. Don't really need to do the fine adjustments with this. I can just aim at the manoeuvre and just burn until we're where we want to be. So I don't know why I'm fiddle farting around with the stupid manoeuvre nodes there. So we'll just burn on the radial mark and get this down to about 15. So a nice slow burn here. Let's see if we can adjust just to get that onto a 90. So it's slow burn down. We're trying to adjust our inclination down to the 90 as well if we can, and just get this down to about 15k. I can burn a little bit quicker. Now, I'm not too worried about getting this on a... I'm actually burning on the wrong side of that, I believe, yeah. So I'm not too worried about getting this a perfect 90-degree inclination. It will help with the mapping, but I can always adjust that once I've dumped all the probes and lost a lot of weight on there. I should hopefully have enough fuel left just to adjust the inclination. So let's just burn a little bit quicker. And 53, 52, 51. And our inclination's coming down quite quick, that's good. That's coming down 30, so we're definitely within the atmosphere now. And our inclination's about where we want it. Our periapsis is coming down close to where we want it. So 15, stop. That'll do. So we've got just under 2,000 meters per second of fuel left. With our aero braking and burning on the periapsis there, we should be just fine. So I'm going to scooch on around to the periapsis, scooch on around to the retrograde, and let's just get it lined up nicely there. Phew, okay, so another save just in case. And we need to head on to the atmosphere. So I'm going to get these solar panels packed away. And I could have put these on action groups, but I tend to like saving my action groups for other things that are sort of you need to do a bit more quicker. So for example, firing off experiments if you're shooting through a certain part of the atmosphere, or turning reactors on and off and things like that. So I try not to use the action groups for solar panels and stuff if I can help it, unless there's a lot of solar panels that I'm going to have to be extending and retracting on a regular basis. So yeah, let's head in for the aero braking, and this is scary because I'm not sure where the highest mountains are. So we're coming down, and getting closer, getting ready to stop the time acceleration here, because we really don't want to skip past this. Okay, and we should be coming into the upper atmosphere anytime now. Phew. Okay, so this is the South Pole, and looks quite different from the rest of Juno. It's fairly pink over there. That's pretty cool. Let's just keep pointed at that retrograde marker. For sure, we're not going to get enough aero braking to actually capture ourselves. Unless we hit a mountain, and that will definitely capture us, but we're going to have to burn. We don't want to lower the periapsis too much, so I'll wait till I'm sort of maybe on the periapsis or just past it before I start burning. And yeah, this is quite nerve-wracking as we're speeding towards Juno's surface at just under 2,500 meters per second. See the nice red glow of the atmosphere there, and it actually shows sort of how low the atmosphere actually is here. So I think we're going to get to about the middle of this atmospheric meter here, which should be enough to give us a little bit of a reduction in speed, but it's not going to be massive, but it will save a little bit of fuel. You can see our apoapsis here is starting to change. It's fairly slow. It will speed up a bit as we get nearer the bottom, and then speed up even more once we start firing the engines. And we're getting a little bit of lag here as the camera changes around. So let's just see what that's doing out here. Yeah, so you see our Kerbal escapes, Juno escape is gradually going up, and eventually that will just flip on around into an orbit. Coming down to 17 kilometers, so we're really getting down low now, and the mountains are getting pretty close, and 10 seconds away from a periapsis. So yeah, we're just about skimming the edge of this second stage of atmosphere, I guess you'd say, second from the surface stage. So we could have maybe come down a little bit lower, but I didn't want to risk it too much. That's a pretty cool screenshot. Let's grab that. And our frames per second's dropped quite a lot as well. We're 5 frames per second in recording, so hopefully this doesn't look too choppy on YouTube. There are quite a few parts. I think there's 215, 230-ish parts on this section. And then when you got the textures from Juno loading as well, it's slowing it down quite a bit. So if I sort of aim upwards, the frame rate goes up, and it's not quite so choppy, but doesn't look as pretty either. So yeah, we're starting to climb back out the atmosphere, so let's get these engines firing. And hopefully we've got enough fuel and thrust to get us into a orbit here. Okay, so let's just time accelerate a little bit here. And I've got to be careful because I'm sort of going through the atmosphere with the engines going, using the physical time acceleration, which is tends to make things a little bit wobbly, but I think otherwise we're going to be sitting here waiting for a while. Our fuel's burning down quite quickly, but we're starting to move our course here. And come up to 1,600 meters per second of fuel left. Let's try and adjust that. I should probably drop it out of warp before I try and move the ship around, but yeah, okay. especially with the amount of decouplers that are in this thing, it could fall apart quite easily. Phew, okay, so 1,400 meters of fuel left and we're still not in orbit. And it is pushing around fairly quickly. And still pushing around to orbit. And the fuel's still dropping, 1,200 meters. And still going. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. So 1,100 meters. Should be any second now. We should be dropping into an orbit. Let's just kill this time acceleration a little bit. And get pushed right onto that retrograde marker. Yeah, we should be good. 900 meters per second. Well, 960. And come on. Here we go, here we go. Yay! So let's bring this apoapsis right down. And once the apoapsis is brought down, we're going to swing around to the apoapsis and raise our periapsis back up. And let's just keep an eye on that. So just making sure the inclination doesn't get too knocked out from the 90. And our periapsis is dropping quite far in, so we're going to have to make sure we save enough fuel to recover that afterwards. 830 meters per second. Yeah, we should have plenty of fuel to do this. And our apoapsis is still 1.3 million miles out. So again, probably not the most efficient way to do this. If I'd switch around to the apoapsis, burnt our periapsis out, and then flown back to the periapsis, it would have been a little bit more efficient. But yeah, we've got plenty of fuel to do this, I hope. 730 meters per second, so that should hopefully be enough to push this periapsis back out. I'm actually going to cut there and swing around to the apoapsis because I'm a little bit worried about that. Once I've got the periapsis stable and I know I'm in a stable orbit, then I can mess around with getting that apoapsis back down. So let's just set that to 10 seconds from the apoapsis and zip on around. Actually, before I do that, let's extend solar panels again. Am I out of warp? Yep, let's close that. Extend, thank you. And let's extend that one. And that one. And that one. Hello. And that button doesn't want to work. There we go. And where is our mapping stuff? SCANsat, thank you. Let's start the multispectral and start the low-res one as well. Brilliant. So we're starting to build up our map as we're doing this. And yeah, let's zip on to the AP. So just coming up to the AP, we should be dropping out of warp any second now. Excellent. Let's delete that. Close and move around to our prograde. And yeah, electricity's doing fine. I was a little bit worried about the scanners burning through the electricity when we're using the SAS, but we should be okay. And let's just try and line this up. And slowly push out our periapsis. So minus 70, minus 60, minus 50, minus 40, 30, 20, 15, 10. And okay, so we're getting out to a stable orbit. And 20k, 30, we're going to get this to about 60 or 70. So 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. Excellent. And let's set up another alarm to get to the periapsis. And set that to 10 seconds, as always. Yeah, I think if you set that to sort of 5 seconds, it doesn't give it enough time to drop out. So I was trying to set that to 10 seconds now, and that generally gives us enough time to drop out of warp. And one thing Mechjeb does have is a warp helper, so that can do similar to the alarm clock. But I like the alarm clock because you can set it up for a whole bunch of different things. I think the warp helper, if I remember correctly, just does it for maneuver nodes. So let's delete that, and we're on the retrograde, so let's just burn to reduce our apoapsis down here. And let's just slightly adjust this inclination back up to 90 again. It's close enough as it is, but as we're burning in that direction anyway, it doesn't hurt just to get it dead on. So it's coming down. And again, we're just going to circularize it to about 70k. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but the closer it is, the better for the mapping. This isn't an ideal orbital height for the mapping. As we saw before, it sort of needs to be 100-ish K for the high resolution scanner. But that's fine, because the main mission at the moment is just landing these probes, so we want to be reasonably close to get these probes landed on the surface, because they haven't got a lot of fuel on there. So 75, 69, that's it. I'm going to leave it there for a second, just take a quick breather, and I'll be back with you when we're set up to start landing our probes.